Yo, I'm so excited to be in conversation with my next guest. He is here to promote his newest book, The Best Man, Unfinished Business. He is not new to the Mike Muse show, and you are not new to him. And I am so excited that he is my forever and my favorite filmmaker. And he's the first one I ever made my film debut because of him.
That's true.
That is my claim to fame and one of my biggest accomplishments. He doesn't need much of introduction, but MalcolmDLee, the incredible filmmaker. How are you, man?
I'm well. How are you?
I cannot complain, man. How you feeling today?
Overall, very good.
Yeah.
Overall, very good. Yeah. Very busy.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, as you know, I've always told you you were my favorite filmmaker. Even
I don't know why, but
before
I take it.
I got put into the Best Man, the Final Chapter series. But I always just want to give you your flowers, and I always will, for what you do for culture. You've been such a custodian of culture. You encapsulate culture in such a way, in a unique formula where it feels inviting, right?
Yeah.
And you make Black stories, human interest stories, and you make them American stories.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where our stories should live, in the canon of American history. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. That's why it's part of my mission, like to normalize Black life in America and, humanize us and highlight Black humanity.
Yeah. Why do you think that's been such a thesis of yours? And how have you been able to walk that line? It feels like you do it effortlessly without even giving thought to it.
I think it's probably, my family background. My family stressed education and the power of the cinematic image, and that, these things go around the world, and we've been, vilified and stereotyped, from the beginning of cinema, from the beginning of America. And, I think it's part of my mission to, correct that, and say what's really authentic and true. So that was one of the first things that I wanted to do when it came to making my first movie, was to, particularly when it came to Black men, to show us as how we see ourselves. Most educated Black men in movies and television were very kind of one-dimensional, stiff, kind of very articulate, but sellout. They've left their ethnicity at the door somehow because they've become educated, and that wasn't my experience, nor was it the people that I became friends with. So it was just about exploring all the things that make us all human, and what's universal about love and relationships and friendships and brotherhood, that I wanted to display on my first film, and I was able to do that.
Look, I've interviewed you before. We've been in conversations before, and I've seen all your films, and I've seen all the work that you've always done. And it kind of just hit me in this conversation that The Best Man was the first time that we saw the range of Black male brotherhood. And I'm in a fraternity, right?
Okay.
And you saw it with other things like School Days, for example, but
Sure.
that was just such a focus on collegiate experiences, right? And obviously there was fraternities that were involved in School Days, but again, that wasn't necessarily the focus aspect of it. And as I'm thinking through other films and properties on my feed audience, I'm just now realizing that I think The Best Man was the first entree of an entourage or a clique or a group of Black men that were so diverse. And I think that's why I'm always, not just myself, but all the people who love and are fans of you and the show are able to relate that. And the probably was, we didn't even know we needed it. And even watching it subliminally.
Yeah, I think that, without movies that preceded it, like Waiting to Exhale, like Love Jones, like Soul Food, the Best Man probably would not have gotten made.
Yeah.
And, Best Man, it's funny with all those movies, they were an inspiration one way or another. With Waiting to Exhale, even the book, Terry McMillan's book, I was thought was so eye-opening, that women spoke, in these very frank ways about love and sex and whatnot. And, but when the film version came out, the men were very kind of archetypal to me. And, I didn't feel like they were true representations of what I thought of as black manhood and black dating or what have you. And so Love Jones gave us an example of that. Like especially his Darius's friend group, they were all pretty close, and I recognized those dudes. You know what I mean? And the same thing in Soul Food, I recognized those men. So I timed my writing of Best Man with the release of Soul Food, so that it's like, well, not that it was going to be the next Soul Food, but if it's successful, then they'll be looking for something in a similar vein where like it's a story about just people. Yeah. And I wanted to do a reunion show, and so that's what happened with that.
What makes me think about this now that we're talking about this time period is, and I was having a conversation recently about how there's a time period, especially during that time, where TV and film felt instructive, right? But not in a custodial way, not like in a parental way, right? But it was just, you could see different interactions with humans and how they were relating to each other. And in particular to Black people, right? There was so many good shows that was happening around that time period. And I feel like now there's something missing about instructive narratives, right? And instructive storytelling that is both creative and fun and escapism, but you can still relate to how characters are there. And I've been thinking about this, about how I oftentimes meet Black men and I recognize immediately don't have strong Black male friendships in their lives.
Interesting.
And I take for granted the relationships that I have with my Black male friends.
I think I probably do too, because I've been around brothers, really for all my life, but certainly galvanized much more even in college, and those relationships last to today. So. I'm very grateful, for that. And, I think there's examples of it, in television, not necessarily of brothers hanging or whatever, but like Black manhood. You certainly see it in Mara Brockett-Hill's show Forever.
Love that.
Like what an amazing show, coming of age story, reimagining of Judy Blume's Forever. And so I'm hopeful that these things are clearly people still want them.
Oh, they do. I was talking to Karen Pittman about that right here on the show from Forever.
Yeah,
and we were talking about the way that she has range now with her character.
Yeah,
and her parenting, and you can see the way in the characters of the mother and the characters of the father, how they have different parenting types, right? But it's all about, again, instructive narrative, instructive storytelling, of an example of what happens when you encounter these situations, right? Here's how you can talk. Here's how you can relate to it as well. I think it's interesting that, audience, you brought me your new bourbon and whiskey, Sable, audience. I cannot wait to taste this, and he was so gracious that he signed it for me. But even I remember looking at the rollout of it and seeing all of your friends, your family, all Black men. That was part of the promotions, part of group of Sable.
Between myself, Tay Diggs, Morris Chestnut, Hara Perrineau, we came together to create a brown liquor. And we're owners and investors in the brand. It is ours. We it was really a brainchild of Harold's, who was just like, hey, we do a lot of brown liquor consuming in the Best Man movies and television show. Why don't we do one of our own that kind of like encapsulates, the brotherhood that we share? So we said, all right, let's see if we can make a go of it. And from the name to the juice itself to the labeling, we all kind of agreed about what it should be. And it's been a great rollout, and we can continue to do it, throughout the next year.
But the reason I brought it in, and to this point in the conversation that we're having, and audience, this wasn't planned at all, but I was thinking about my Black male friendships, my best friends, and we always gather on a stoop at one of our best friends' homes in Brooklyn. We always smoke a cigar, and we always have some type of whiskey. We're always tasting it, we're always trying it. But the reason why I bring that up is that when you think about bourbon and whiskey, it's to be sipped,
Yeah.
Right. And it's to be sipped slow.
That's right.
Right. When you have a cigar, it's savored, right?
Savor the Sable.
Savor the Sable. Right. When you have a cigar, the idea is it can last an hour, right?
That's
if
right.
you're not like inhaling it, but there should be talking, right? You should always have to relight your cigar so much because you're talking so much the cigar goes out. But I think even the through line of Brotherhood, even through whiskey, I've had my most incredible moments over whiskey. It's the same group of four of us, right?
Sure.
And we've had moments where we've cried together, right? We've laughed together. We've ideated, right? We've built things together. We've created. And there's just something so sacred about that Black male vulnerability. I swear to God, Malcolm, it seems so second nature for me. But then I go back to this idea that I don't see enough of my other Black male friends having those type of strong bonds in relationships. So even you creating this whiskey, you're continuing the through line of
I think progress is being made. If I think about, the first Best Man to even, Best Man Holiday, the evolution of reaction to Black male vulnerability is different. Like, I remember in the theater watching, the end of the first Best Man, and Harper is confessed to Robin what happened, and Robin's like, okay, well, you deal with that, I'm out of here, and he's like, I need you. Right, and he's making a plea, and you could hear the brothers in the audience, little bitch, da 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 da, all kind of like little comments that like not accepting that he was vulnerable in that moment. Fast forward to Best Man Holiday, when there's an expression of like, hey man, we're worried about you. Do you need something? And tears are shed, and people are like, they're quiet, they understand. It's maybe it's a different circumstance.
Yeah.
But I think there's also growth in, the viewership of, the audiences.
It's okay to be vulnerable.
It is.
Right?
And necessary.
And necessary to grow.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt. Absolutely.
To be afraid.
Even you look at, a movie like Inside Out, it shows you that, even though you want to be happy all the time, Joy was like, no, don't let her be sad. But, sometimes sadness is responsible or necessary for growth.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even thinking about in the Best Man, the final chapter is the scene, I don't know if it was poker or spades. I forgot, there was a card game that was
sometimes with poker, sometimes with spades.
There was a card game that was being played. But even then, there was this so much vulnerability that was being exchanged, right? And I think oftentimes some people need permission. Yeah. Some people just need permission to say it's okay to be a Black male and to be emotional, right?
Agreed.
And to be
and if they see it displayed, in popular culture, then they say, okay, and I relate to that guy. He's not out of my realm of like, like he's one of the people I know, or I feel like I'm related to him, or I feel like I'm him, and he's doing it. Maybe it's okay for me to do it. So I think, and again, it's not even like about that necessarily, although it's funny, my co-author Jane Allen writes a lot of her books about healing, right? And so like I'm like, I guess, and she's like, you heal people too, and I'm like, I guess I do. I do love Black people, right? And I want to see us succeed and do well, and embrace the fullness of us.
Yeah. And in particular, Malcolm, you can see I keep leaning into Black men specifically because that is what I advocate for most. Like that is the number one pillar of my advocacy is Black men. Write about it, do op-eds for it. I'm always trying to elevate and talk to Black men about this, is because there isn't enough conversations, in my opinion, that really focus on the fullness and wholeness of Black men.
Yeah.
Whether it's film, television, politics, academia, research. It's what missing, and so that's why I'm kind of leaning more into it, because I'm just thanking you.
I lean into it
for playing your part.
Yeah. Well, my company is called Black Male Productions. You know what I mean? And so like it's all about us and trying to give people the fullness of the Black man experience.
How did Sable come about? Were y'all all just playing spades one night or a card game? Were y'all sitting by the pool? Like
no. Listen,
give me the movie version, Malcolm. Give me the movie version.
It will not be as sexy or romantic. Honestly,
I need a barbecue. I need somebody grilling around the barbecue in somebody's backyard.
It wasn't anything like that. Look, we all enjoy.
Malcolm, don't bust my vision, Malcolm.
No. I'm keeping it real and down to earth for you. Like it's like, look, it was really just Harold just mentioned. But first of all, we like working together. Right? These three guys that I'm in business with, I've known them 26 years. They launched, helped launch my career, and they were at my wedding. You know what I mean? So like we've been close for a number of years, and Harold's like, well, why don't we, listen, Malcolm, you're not going to make any more, best man movies. Maybe we can convince you to do it if we get you drunk enough, and do this bourbon together. And so it seemed like a good idea. I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And there were some buyers out there that wanted to help us build a label.
I'm sure tasting nights, the tastings had to be fun.
It was nice.
Yeah,
it was nice. We had like it's in Los Angeles, and we had a whole steak dinner, and we tried different things. But the great thing was that we all picked the same juice.
No way.
We all felt like that was the one.
That's
crazy. And I'm telling you, like the entire process, from the marketing, from the font to the name, to the messaging, we just felt like we all were in agreement about what it should look like, to the bottle shape.
I love Bottled in Brotherhood.
Yeah, Bottled in Brotherhood. That's right.
That's a tag on the bottom.
That's exactly right. Bottled in Brotherhood, and that's real.
Yeah. I mean, it clearly is in there. Why Sable? Because you mentioned the name a few times.
It's funny,
I feel like that's important.
They threw a couple of names at us, right? And we were on a Zoom, and they were like, "Okay, don't say anything until you hear all the names," right? So we're like, "Okay." So they had a couple other names. I'm not even going to say what they were.
Yeah.
But this one was like, yeah. And then we were like, "Okay, I like Sable," and they were all like, "Yeah, I like Sable too," right? So it was like, first of all, you don't want to have a long ass name, when you're trying to sell anything. Yeah. It's to the point. It's elegant. Sable is a synonym for black. It also it connotes luxury and elevation, but still accessibility. That was also something that was very important. That even at the price point that we have, it's not like so like aspirational that your cousin Pookie can't have a sip of it. You know what I'm saying? Or even pick him a bottle. It's okay. Like it's something that that is, again, aspirational but accessible, and it's got a rich dark hue. It's got a good got a great flavor that's a little bit sweet but very, very smooth on the palate.
Yeah, and the color is great.
Oh, the color is beautiful.
I'm actually intrigued by the color. Actually,
I'm telling you, man, you are going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
If you're a bourbon drinker, you're going to enjoy it.
I am. So it's smooth on the front. Does it have a bite in the back?
A little bit.
Okay.
But it doesn't burn.
I love that.
Does not burn, right?
Good.
Like it's there, but it's not like, oh my God,
That's why I stay away from scotches.
Yeah, you can
I'm
sip it.
not a big scotch guy.
You can sip it, with a cube or without.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it in a cocktail.
This is great for Father's Day coming up too.
100%.
Well.
Get yourself some Sable.
This has to be good for like a steak.
Oh, yeah.
Barbecuing in the back. I can see myself sipping on this meat.
No doubt. Do it.
Yeah. Yo, Malcolm, you'd be so proud. I'm going to send you a picture.
I want some photos,
I will.
Man.
My best friend, speaking of my best friend, his wife, she brought out to the stoop these glasses for us to sip our bourbon on. And she bought these new glasses where they're cocktail glasses, but there's like an indentation in them where you can place your cigar inside of the glass.
Oh, wow.
So she ended up sending it to me as a gift. And so I cannot wait to put the Sable in it. I'm going to take a picture of that one for
Please
you
do.
and send it to you.
Please do.
Audience, this was not even supposed to be about promoting Sable. This is something he kind of gave to me on the side. But
we got to talk about the book.
Yeah, but I just thought it was just so interesting to bring it up because we leaned into black male brotherhood so quickly.
Yeah.
And for me, bourbon is such a representation of my friendships that I have with my best friends.
And we displayed that in the Best Man.
So,
that was part of like the inspiration behind creating the liquor.
Yeah, but on to why you're really here, which is the Best Man trilogy. You have decided to write a trilogy in paperback form and audio format as well to really leave off where the series ended. Yeah. So I want to say thank you on behalf of everyone who is a fan of yours and the series for continuing.
Sure.
I feel like you have... I would never call it a curse, but you have a heavy is a head that wears a crown. And that's a better way to say it because I don't think we're ever going to be fully satisfied with the Best Man until we're just never satisfied. We're always going to want more.
It's interesting. I felt like, that even after the first Best Man, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like let that movie stand on its own, and that's that. Even though there was there was talk of a sequel, but I needed growth. The characters needed growth, and so with this, it got to a place where getting those 8 episodes on Peacock was tough. Getting those actors back together was just it's a challenge because they're all very working actors. They're very in high demand. So to try to get them back together was going to be a challenge. And I said, well, okay, then we're done. We're finished. We wrapped up the story. Maybe there's story to tell, but I'm not telling it. Mm-hmm. The dust clears and the smoke clears and the dust settles a bit, and you kind of like, well, what else could I do? But it really wasn't, thinking about what the next movie or next television show would be. I've always enjoyed the written word, and I've always fantasized. I wouldn't say always, but certainly in the past, 10 years or so, I've fantasized about writing a novel. And I was like, here's my opportunity. There's backstory here. There's characters that I know that the audience recognize. Why not try my hand at this right now with this particular story? There's still more story to tell. There's still some unfinished business, with these characters. And, I knew that people still wanted more. They kept saying they wanted more. So I said, well, let me try it in this form. And I pitched the idea to a couple of publishing houses. Penguin House Crown, stepped up to the plate along with Storehouse Voices. And, I teamed up with Jane Allen to craft it. And, I'm very, very happy with the result. It's an opportunity to really delve deeper into these characters. You really can get, all 5 senses involved with reading a book, and there's an advantage because you have the visual of what these characters look like. You also can imagine other places that they're going to, because in this book, unlike a film or television, you're not restricted by location and budget. Yeah. This movie takes place in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Ghana. And I said, well, that's really hard to mount, in television. Yeah. So that my imagination got to be expanded. Plus, you get to get into the brains of these characters. So we're really following Harper, Robin, and Jordan. Mm-hmm. And each chapter is their point of view. And so, we keep going around to where they are and where they are in their lives. Harper's he's living his bachelor life. He's very much successful professionally. He's won a Pulitzer Prize. He's about to write a screenplay. Living in Dumbo. Yeah. But a little untethered. Yeah. Feeling a bit kicked out of his life since the divorce. Yeah. Wants to fit back in with his friend group in a way that he did before, but he doesn't have Robin. Robin is off in Accra, Ghana, open up a restaurant, raising their daughter together, trying to balance, motherhood and a business. Maybe he's going to make some time for a relationship that, of a suitor. And then Jordan, having quit her job, has moved to Malibu, and is all about self-care and and therapy. Yeah. So she's trying to figure. But the lure of the hustle, which has always been in her, the grind, is still there, and she's still is feeling that pull. Yeah. Plus, she's feeling a pull of the love of her life, who she hasn't really admitted to herself nor to him in Harper.
Yeah. And Malcolm, I sensed that when I was interviewing Harper on stage during my amazing scene on the Best Man Unfinished Business after he won the Pulitzer Prize. I felt he was unfinished, right? I felt like he was still searching. Yeah. So thank you for continuing with the conversation on my behalf.
No, of course, Mike. No, listen. You were the inspiration.
Thank you for that. But I want to lean into Harper a little bit. I'm going to touch on the other 2 characters too as well, because it kind of goes back to what we're saying too as well. We don't get a chance to see the evolution of a black man, right? Of a black man who's trying to figure it out. When we first introduce him, successful, loss, successful again with Pulitzer Prize, but then the undoing of family, right? And family structure, right? And what does messy look like, right? And I think it's okay to not know, right? I think it's okay to have mess, right? Everything doesn't have to be so perfect and tied into a bow. Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's growth, that's the journey that Harper's taking in this book. it's about his individual growth. And it's funny. I don't think that I articulated that when I was first starting to write this. You know, that I wanted to like, you know, obviously you want, you know, each character to have an arc that they're you know, that they are pursuing and that they are going to have, you know, so you can keep the audience interested. But that's certainly I think they all the characters grow in this book. But you know, Harper has like a big journey to go on. It's like, you know, I think he does have some regret about his marriage. He won't necessarily admit it to himself in the beginning. Yeah. You know, that maybe he, you know, was a little bit hasty. Maybe he could have compromised more. And I think that's part of, you know, what the journey is in this book. You know, Robin seemingly is doing very well without him. And how does he deal with that? You know, like he should be able to move on. He's doing great, you know, financial success. You know, he's got a slew of women that he's, you know, dating. Yeah. But he's not really that happy. And he's a little bit lonely. So, like, you know, why is he lonely? How did he get to this place? Yeah. And, you know, his friends hold him accountable at times.
You lean into a lot of love. Like, love is also, too, a big theme of a lot of your properties.
I love love,
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah, you
love love, man.
Love love. I'm noticing the theme now throughout all your properties. Love is very much at the center of it.
It's important.
As it all. Talk to me a little bit more about that, because I've been wrestling with this idea of, is it that age-old question, right? Is it, how's it say? Is it better to have love than love lost? And
love than lost and not love at all?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, no, you know what? I think that's true. I think you have to, like, you know, put yourself out there. You know, experience real vulnerability, experience, you know, doing for others, you know, letting yourself fall. It happens to everybody, right? Like, if you allow it. And it can be very tough and it's scary, right? But it does give you growth, you know, on the other side of it, you know, and hopefully, you know, you're able to be in a place where that you find somebody that you know, you're going to love for life. Yeah.
So I was thinking about that with these three characters. Yeah. As you were talking about it.
Yeah.
Harper, Robin, and Jordan. They all have this journey with that thesis of the fundamental root of what that question is.
Yeah. You know, like, I think for Jordan, you know, her whole thing has been about the hustle and about being better than men and being, you know, like, and making sure that she takes care of herself and that she's a boss bitch and all and the whole 9 yards, right? But she has not really exposed her heart for relationship and love, right? She's closed off like that. And that's part of what's happening, you know, in her life in this book. It's like, when am I going to, like, you know, choose myself?
But also to think that that's a good example of, like, well, a lot of people go through who close themselves off. I think sometimes those of us who are close off to love, we use work as an excuse.
Absolutely.
Right? But in reality, Malcolm, we're just afraid of love.
100%.
Because on the other side of love can be loss.
That's right.
And the heartache of loss.
No doubt. And Jordan
I feel a lot with Jordan.
Yeah, oh yeah. She doesn't put herself out there. You know, she doesn't want to. She's like, you know, I'm strong. I don't need anybody. Right? I just need myself. I'm responsible for me. Da da da. And then, you know, with Robin, at the end of Best Man final chapters, she chose herself. You know, finally, you know, she was in a marriage that she, you know, she put him first, and even, like, made room for Jordan, you know, and
which is hard to do,
right? I mean, but that's who, you know, she knew how important she was to Harper, and she didn't want to upset that apple cart. She was that kind of person anyway, to be selfless. And a lot of people were very upset with her for leaving, right? Yeah. And so I think this book gives people an opportunity to listen to what was her POV. Yeah. You know, in a way that they hadn't before.
I was glad she chose herself.
Me too.
I really was happy she chose herself. I think because sometimes we're always acquescing for others.
That's exactly
being
right.
A people pleaser.
And she was definitely a people pleaser. Yeah. And then she is discovered, she is reborn in Ghana. She's had a lot of healing to do. You know, and is in a place where, I know if things are difficult for her, they're not, you know, all rosy. She has her challenges. And she certainly had her challenges when she first moved there, but, you know, she's in a good place now. And again, in choosing herself, she felt like she made the right decision.
How we were talking earlier off air about nerves, nerve-wracking, new forms of medium, right? I was telling you, being vulnerable, I'm entering a new form of a medium where I'm going to be on YouTube, right? Like doing live things. That's new for me.
Congratulations.
Right? Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
You're going to kill it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. For you, like writing a book, right? You write screenplays, right? But writing a book, like how was that approach for you? Was it nerve-wracking?
No, not nerve-wracking. You know, it was a bit overwhelming just because it's like, oh boy, I have to write,
lots of pages.
But that doesn't scare me because I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
And my screenplays tend to be very, very fat. And I have to find ways to you can't include everything in your screenplay. And you can't include everything in a book either. However, there's a lot more room in a book, in a novel. And so like that was kind of freeing, to tell you the truth, more than anything else.
Talk to me about that, because I think a lot of times in film you can use scenery, you can use shots, you can use music to help move the story along.
That's true.
Or to tell things that are not written or spoken, right? Whereas in the book, you have to be extremely descriptive, right? And so was that translation difficult in the beginning? I know you're an incredible screenwriter, but
no, it's true. You have to, you have a lot more description to do, and which is why, having someone like Jane to bounce ideas off of and, help to flesh out certain things is important. Like I can give like the basic kind of like, okay, this is what the scene should look like and blah, 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 blah. And, still make it as cinematic as possible. And she can, kind of dress it up with, with some more language that I'm like not as versed in, but that's why it was a great collaboration, because I already knew the characters, I knew the story that I wanted to tell, I knew their voices. But it's, it was kind of, great to have her with me so we could, butt out those things.
Yeah.
In movies, we do have the advantage of music, of looks, the visual. It's all about like, you think you need so much in a screenplay, and once you get to the editing process, you're like, no, well, we don't. She said that with she said that look. So she said that those words with a look in the first scene that we don't even need to get to, in scene 78 or whatever. So it's already done. So yes, there's a lot of advantages to movies and television, but there's so many beautiful advantages to a book that you cannot, that a movie and television cannot, achieve. There's details, there's inner thoughts, there's smells, there's tastes, there's, a sense of feel, that you don't have in a book. So, that was very important for me to be as authentic as possible. And one of the reasons that I had never been to Ghana before last year, and I went to Ghana just so I could make sure that I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
In terms of visiting certain places and eating certain foods and experiencing certain weather there and feelings and the people and seeing a city that is growing and is on the rise.
Malcolm, I wouldn't do service to the people of all the fans and the cult following of The Best Man and ask you, is there any idea of turning this into a series and a continuation? I just wouldn't be doing my job, right?
Well,
this is on behalf of the people. I am a man of the people, Malcolm.
Really? Really, Mike? Are you looking to get in the movie again?
I'm just saying. I got some questions for him to continue.
Right,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, look, I've got 2 other books to write.
Okay.
So I'm going to get those done.
Yeah.
And then if Universal comes calling and says, hey, we really want to do this.
Yeah.
But that will not happen.
Yeah.
Unless people really buy the book. And by the way, I'm planning a couple of other things.
Yeah.
That these books will speak to. That, people will need to read the books if they're going to want to see the other content that may precede this.
Well, Malcolm, I am promoting myself from random character reporter number 1 to producer. And I heard you say earlier that the complication was bringing this all-star cast together because scheduling. But I think the way that you've written it, we don't need the whole ensemble. We can just focus on Harper for a series or for a show. We can just focus on Jordan. That way we don't, depending on everyone else's schedule, the budget will be less, right? We're either going to be in Malibu, we're going to shoot in Ghana, or we're going to shoot in New York.
I tell you,
right?
You
As
know,
your producer, I think that's a
a
good thing, Malcolm. What do you say?
I hear what you're saying. I think, though, what is magical about The Best Man is, even though, like, Harper Stewart is the titular character, the magic is the entire ensemble. It's the friend group.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody just wants to see him.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'd be some, but they'd wonder, like, what's going on with Quentin? What's going on with Murch? What's going on with Shelby? And so we're doing that in the book. And, you know, we're going to do it for 2 more books. And the other books will delve into the POVs of the other characters.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So, you know, we've gone through Harper, Robin, and Jordan's POV. And I thought it would be close-ended.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
We actually have a lot of lean forward ability with our ending of this book that makes people say, "Oh, where's book 2?" And so, you know,
audience, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Listen,
I'm trying. For the people, I'm trying.
All I can tell you is
Malcolm.
I have to fulfill my commitment.
Yeah.
For the other 2 books, and then we'll see.
Malcolm, you're tough, man. You're tough. I don't know this producer hat's working for me. I'm not persuasive enough.
I have a contentious relationship with all my producers. Yeah. They will tell you.
I can tell. Shout out to all the producers. Drink lots of Sable.
Yes.
Malcolm, always a pleasure, man. Thank you for stopping by the Malcolm Muse Show. I cannot wait to be in conversation with the other books, the other properties, films, projects. With you, I never know what you're going to be coming out of that beautiful mind of yours. And
you know, I got a movie coming out in the spring as well. So, yeah.
Shit. Well, I'll be seeing you back soon.
I'll come back for that.
Yeah, come back. Clearly, you didn't need me for this film. That's okay. It's okay. I'm exclusive to the Best Man trilogy. It's fine. Yeah.
Understood.
Malcolm, I love you, man. Congratulations. So proud of you.
Thank you, brother.
Wait. How can people get the book? I'm sure everywhere books are.
Yes. Bestmanbooks.com. Okay. You know, and then it's going to be available everywhere. Amazon, the Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy books. There's a lot of Black bookstores out there as well. Reparations Club in Los Angeles is going to have signed books that will be available for purchase. So pre-order now. The drop date is July 1st. So, you know, just in time before the July.
Barbecue, beaches,
get your summer reads
trips
on. I got it right here on deck for y'all. You will not be disappointed. If you like The Best Man, you will love these books.
That's the best time to drop this type of book. Summer read.
Yeah.
This is a great summer read for the beach, for the picnics, in the park, on the airplane.
All of that.
All
of that.
You don't disappoint me, my brother.
Hey, man, let's go. Come on, folks. Pick it up July 1st.
Until next time, folks.